everybody. It is New York Comic-Con weekend. Right now, as we speak, New York Comic-Con is happening in New York. Go figure. That's where Comic Tom is. He is over there. We are holding it down here. Myself, Fire Guy Ryan, and Russ, the comic book sensei.
It would not be New York Comic-Con without a fantastic list of amazing variants. And not to shy away from a whole lot of awesome variants, we have Todd McFarlane and his Spawniverse, the Spawn Universe, coming in at number 10. We actually have Spawn number 357. This is the retailer exclusive. And we talked about the fact that there were only 300 made, and as far as I know, every single one of them was signed. We are seeing multiple sales in the 400 and up range on eBay right now with more than 20 sales. I know there's a bunch of Spawn people that are already looking for this book, and the buzz in addition to this one is there's another variant of Spawn number 357 that is Todd McFarlane and Peach Momoko. Now, I heard originally that the print run of that was 1,000, and then someone said it might have only been 500. I'm leaning probably closer to the 1,000 level, but those books are selling for between $300 and $500 raw. As well, variants at New York Comic-Con, always a fun thing to follow, but not necessarily something that's going to hold its value long term.
Something that absolutely will hold its value, however, is this book, or will it? Young Avengers #1 from 2005. I think Russ might disagree with me there. We are seeing a $100 average sales for this book, and a CGC 9.8 just hit $250 last week, which is about how much it's been selling for all year.
A 100% increase in copies sold this week because of more Agatha All Along news, and since I'm not going to get into that, most of you could probably guess the fact that we already have so many of the Young Avengers parts happening in the Marvel Cinematic Universe with Kate Bishop and Wiccan and Speed. I mean, it's one of those things that we know is a surefire thing, and it just kills me when I looked at the all-time high was back in May of 2021 for just over $1,200, and then for a year and a half after that, we saw sales in the $800 to $1,000 range. $250 for this book, which I know Comic Tom and I both referred to as the modern giant-size X-Men #1, is down drastically. I still stand by that because there are so many great new characters in this book. It's absolutely worth picking up, especially at this bottom.
Or even if you just want to grab the trade or check it out on Marvel Unlimited, get past the Young Avengers in the title. It's actually a really good read. It's a cool storyline, and if they could do this on screen in any capacity close to what the book was able to achieve, it would be a really cool plot.
Number 8 on the list, another book that nobody was specking on, Sensational She-Hulk #1 from 2023. This is the Mirka Andolfo variant and features the first appearance of Hulkette on a cover. This is one of those new Champions variants, a little bit like Ryan and I talked about with Phantasma last week. Very clearly, we have a new team that no one was paying attention to, and all of a sudden, these books are selling. We have an 800% increase in copies sold this week, and this is very, very telling. The average sale price up until October 16th was $5. All of the sales I've seen since the 16th have been over 20, with some approaching $30. This is definitely one of those books that not a lot of people were specking on, with only 3 graded at a CGC 9.8, and the only sale of a CGC 9.8 was $22 back in April of 2024. Great pickup.
This book is on the list this week because it was just announced that Hulkette will be appearing in story in the upcoming Spider-Boy number 13, which drops November 27th. This Sensational She-Hulk variant, that's her first appearance on the cover, like most of these new Champions characters, but Hulkette will be coming to the pages of Spider-Boy next month.
Number 7 on the list, another book that's being affected by Agatha All Along. We have Avengers, the Children's Crusade #1. This is a 9-issue maxi series that follows Wiccan and Speed in the events after House of M. We're seeing a 500% increase in copies sold this week, $20 average sales, and a CGC 9.8 for only $65 just a couple weeks ago.
However, that sale is the highest sale this book has gone for all year. We've been seeing a lot of really high trending sales for this book over the last week because of events that have been happening in Agatha All Along. Without spoiling anything too directly, I could easily see them adapting this Children's Crusade, / Young Avengers storyline. They're building up to both of those separately, like we talked about before. But if they specifically want to take the Children's Crusade storyline and focus on the children of Wanda Maximoff trying to find her after the events of House of M in the comics, like Russ said, but in the MCU, she hasn't been seen since Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness 2 years ago. So it would be kind of easy to just swap those storylines and put this on the screen.
And we need to not forget that a lot of people were already pushing the fact that House of M was supposed to be very heavily WandaVision, and that didn't come to fruition immediately, but seeds were planted.
In case this is your very first time watching the Trending 10 video, hello, hi. We do this video every single week. We pull the books from a list of 20, the Trending 20 list over on Key Collector Comics. That comes out every single week, and if you want to get ahead of us and look at these books for yourself, plus the 10 that we're not talking about here, go check out Key Collector Comics, available for Androids and iPhones.
Use code TOM101 for 2 free weeks of the best comic book app in existence. 2 things I've been using a whole lot this week are the New York Comic Con 2024 section, shows you all of the exclusives, and there's a great little section which shows you all of the Agatha All Along books, so you could actually be a little ahead of what we're doing.
Again, use code TOM101 for 2 free weeks of the paid version. You support the show and you boost your comic book game. Let's get back to the list. Strange Tales, number 126. This is the first appearance of Dormammu, the first appearance of Clea. 2 pretty big supporting characters in the Doctor Strange storyline. We're seeing $1,700 average sales across all grades. That's a little, that's never very reliable. We did see a $200 raw sale earlier this week, as well as a $200 5.5 CGC sale earlier this week. So maybe that gives you a pretty good idea.
So we are seeing a 600% increase in copies sold this week, because not only are people forgetting about the fact that Clea showed up at the end of Multiverse of Madness, and with everything going on in the Agatha universe, we have unconfirmed rumors, let me say that again, unconfirmed rumors that Denzel Washington may very well be the voice of Dormammu in something upcoming, which again, that could be a what if episode. It could actually be in an MCU movie. We don't know. It's unconfirmed. It's unsubstantiated. But comic people are listening and they are buying.
Now, on the one hand, we did already get Dormammu during the events of the original Doctor Strange film.
I've come to bargain.
What do you want?
But on the other hand, the ending of Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness clearly set up some stuff with Clea and with alternate dimensions stuff. So it would make sense that in whatever Doctor Strange 3 we get in the future, not only will we see Clea again, hopefully, but we would see a new version of Dormammu as inhabited by Denzel Washington, which would be freaking amazing.
Now, while Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness may have been very, very polarizing, I myself loved it and have been really, really excited to hear all of the rumors going around that Sam Raimi may very well come back to direct the next one. Fingers crossed.
Next up at number 5, we have my favorite series in comics, Green Lantern, number 87 from 1971. This is the first appearance of John Stewart. We are seeing this book on the list again. This book was actually on the Trending 20 last week. We didn't talk about this one. There was another John Stewart key that we talked about, but this book has made the transition, I guess, from Trending 20 to Trending 10 this week. $650 average sales for this book, but we did see a 9.2 hit, $1,200 earlier this week, for overall a 200% increase in copies sold across all grades and raw books.
I think there's a lot of excitement about John Stewart, and this book itself is absolutely a big key, and I think a lot of people were just waiting to see where the market would go before they pulled the trigger on it. This book is not going to drop a whole lot in price, and the fact that it's been a really big key from all the way back in 1971, it's probably going to retain its value as well as its popularity.
If anyone wants to get me one as a gift, you can just send it to the P.O. box that's down in the description. I'm sure I'll keep my breath held. I'll wait patiently for that one. That's going to be a really cool thing to unbox, so thanks in advance. Next up on the list, Superman Man of Steel number 3 from 1986. This is the first appearance of Magpie. We're seeing a $5 average sales for this book. A 9.4, however, just sold earlier this month for $40. That is the all-time record high for that book.
We are seeing an 825% increase in copies sold this week because Magpie showed up in episode 4 of Penguin over on Max. And I'm hearing fantastic things about this show, and I'm just getting caught up with everything right now. I'm hoping to binge it really, really soon, but I can tell you, at least from the comic book side, this Superman Man of Steel miniseries, really easy, really common. You could probably pick up the full set for like $20, so don't overpay for this book and this minor key and minor appearance.
From the Penguin side of it, I would say also don't overpay for this book because Magpie made a relatively brief appearance. I don't want to spoil anything, but she does show up in the flashbacks that happened in Arkham Asylum, which is really cool to see. It's a pretty interesting character that kind of, to me, it felt like they were mixing some Harley Quinn elements into this character as well, too. So I just love the Penguin. I'm excited to see books from that show as well as Agatha both hitting the list this week.
If you like what we do and you want to support the show, you should sign up for the Mystery Mail Call, where we send you exclusive comic books every single month. This month, we have Gargoyle's Quest number 4 by Marco Mastrazzo, a beautiful variant.
And we always do 2 guaranteed 1 per box exclusives. Since this is the beginning of the sign-up period for the November box, we'll tell you what that other book is once I learn what it is, honestly. I don't know what the next book is going to be, but for now, you can lock in your copy of Gargoyle's Quest number 4 by Marco Mastrazzo, plus, all the back issues and bonus books that we throw in there, too. ComicTom.com to sign up for that and support what we do. I'm going to kick it back to the list. Number 3, DC All-In Special. Number 1, this just came out a couple of weeks ago. We're seeing $5 average sales, which is cover price, and that's pretty much what you're seeing across the board. This is very, very heavily printed, so it shouldn't be too hard to find one of these, even though it is exciting to see it on here again with a 157% increase in copies sold this week compared to last week.
It's interesting to have a new DC book on this list, let alone 2 of them right in a row. Number 2 on the list, we have Absolute Batman number 1. This book was brand new last week, and we are seeing $10 average sales with a $5 cover price. $15 to $20 raw eBay sales, and that one has a 186% increase in copies sold. Now, Ryan and I talked last week a little bit about the fact that we are excited about the new Absolute Universe. Snyder coming back to Batman, Absolute Batman, I knew was going to sell, but I did not have people pre-ordering. Same thing with the DC All-In Special. I just didn't have a whole lot of people buying this. I don't think there's a whole lot of faith on what's going on in the DC Universe right now, or at least the consumers aren't picking them up when they should be, and they're missing out on these opportunities. It's a great read. It's a great story. And just to throw off, next week, October 23rd, we are going to see Absolute Wonder Woman number 1. And if you didn't read Tom King's Wonder Woman in the last week, you really should, because it is one of the best things that is going on in comics right now, and almost nobody's paying attention.
I will second that. Tom King's Wonder Woman is one of the best books coming out from either of the big 2, let alone any comic publisher at all. And the all-in initiative across the board, not only is the Absolute Batman, and the whole Absolute universe, I'm sure will be great, but the rest of DC, most of DC's other titles are getting new creative teams and is a perfect jumping on point right now if you have never tried, Detective Comics, for example. Tom Taylor is taking that over. One of my favorite writers, Philip Kennedy Johnson, is taking over Batman and Robin, which should be really cool. There's a new creative team on Catwoman. That's a good jumping on point, to say nothing of all of the kind of storylines, even if for books that are keeping their creative teams, like Chip Zdarsky on Batman. There's a lot of new story arcs happening right now, too. So it really is, at least on the DC side of things, the best time to give a lot of these titles a try and jump in. Like Butch.
It also kind of feels like DC knew that people were just going to be missing the boat on this, because they had already solicited second prints of Absolute Batman number 1, and the final order cutoff was a full week before Absolute Batman number 1 came out. The book that every shop was able to order after Absolute Batman number 1 was released last week was the 3rd print, and that's not coming out until early November. So a lot of people are going to be paying extra money just to catch up.
Speaking of catching up, I'm sure a lot of people have not read this number 1 book on the list. I had not heard of it until seeing the list this week, but now that I have read the synopsis and know that it is getting optioned, I am a lot more interested in tracking it down and reading it. I'll just cut to the chase. The Lot, number 1 from 2021 from Bad Idea Comics. We're seeing $15 average sales for issue number 1. But you can track down a full set of 1 through 4 on eBay pretty easily for about $20, I saw.
It's a 1,100% increase in copies sold this week, and Bad Idea books are notoriously tough to get because there still aren't that many retailers that you can buy them from, and a lot of people end up selling them at the shop and then just holding on to them because they've read them. Now, the rumor has been that at New York Comic Con, happening this weekend, we are going to have some amazingly big movie news.
It was actually confirmed this week that writer Akela Cooper, who wrote the movie Megan, Mithrigan, as well as The Nun 2, she will be writing the script for The Lot, which is a as far as I can tell here, I really want to track this down and read it, but Bad Idea makes that kind of difficult. This is a horror movie that takes place in the 70s on a film studio where it turns out like there was an actual cult sacrifice that was used while filming a horror movie. So that sounds pretty cool. A nice 4-issue miniseries could make a pretty spooky movie. Get out there and track it down and find it and read it if you can. I will be there with you trying to find it myself.
New York Comic Con just sounds like it's the place to be this week. There is actually going to be a panel happening on Saturday, which is tomorrow, but the day before this gets released, so you already missed it. But there's going to be a Bad Idea panel where they will be handing out a lot exclusive. So if you were there, you were lucky. It's probably going to be selling for a good amount of money.
Maybe we'll talk about it next week, but we don't know. Until next week, we'll see you back here at the same time, the same Bat channel, right? That's what they said back in the 60s. You're not that old, but you're older than me. I love giving you crap for that, Ross. Stay tuned, as always.
Geek responsibly.
Enough said.